Another great privilege to do another episode with you.
Thank you everyone for tuning in, listening. We are just getting this thing started, so we appreciate any support that we get throughout this whole thing. We just have fun doing this.
Glad to be back. How about this weekend's card?
I think it was a good card. They overperformed.
Yeah,
I had a
100%.
good time watching it. The prelims were decent. A couple of heavily favored fighters pulled off the win like they should have.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I think the main card definitely kind of carried it in
oh
the
yeah,
end, which was good, thankfully, because I mean, even it did kind of look like a dud, but and again, going back to the Tyra, I mean, I think him just as a prospect or turning himself from a prospect into a contender has just been incredible to see because I believe he's one of the few that have done it right. And I know that like skill and in a way luck with like timing and all that sort of stuff like kind of plays a factor into where these guys go in their futures. But I think someone like Tyra, he was able to really kind of create a easy pathway for him, and not an easy in terms of like being able to walk through guys. I think in terms of being able to do it right, rather than pushing himself too fast, or rather than putting himself up against a vet that has a very good chance of beating him, like with Peyton Talbot and Barcelos. You
yeah,
have that vet versus prospect dynamic going on, and there was a very good chance that Barcelos could have beaten Talbot. I don't know why the line was that huge. Like I think that was kind of ridiculous, but it's just one of those things that some of these guys just are pushed a little too fast, and whether that's due to their management, whether that's due to their ego, whether that's due to the UFC, I think it just really hurts these guys if they're pushed way too fast.
yeah, I agree. Like a lot of these guys get hype um, and get a name, and the UFC kind of tries to push that a little too quickly and put them in there with contenders or fighters that are above their level and hope they win so they get another big name that's on the rise to push for the title or that brings more attention. But when guys like Bo Nickel come in and lose, and now you're like, well, he got fraud checked, or like you said, Talbot when he lost, everyone was like, oh, he definitely got fraud checked. He came back and redeemed himself a little bit in his last win, but he doesn't have the same hype that he did going into it. You see it a lot of time. I mean, even back in the day with Darren Till, I feel like he was fast tracked a lot, and
Hmm.
it kind of led to his downfall because when he got beat by Tyron Woodley, he kind of never really recovered from it, and kind of went on a losing streak. And I was out of the UFC. He was supposed to be a young prospect that came in and was a top competitor in that division.
Well,
I
I
wish.
think. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no, I was just gonna say. I think, and in a different kind of way as well. You do have guys that become champions and then gain that star power. I think Kamaru Usman was a very, very, very big example of that in terms of him coming up because all the way from pretty much his UFC debut to his championship win against Woodley, it was all wrestling, right? It wasn't the most
Yeah,
entertaining sort of fights. It was super dominant. Like one of he's like for sure one of the most dominant wrestlers of all time in the UFC. But it's he wasn't one of those. This is fun to watch dominating. You know what I mean? And once he got that championship, though, he had the fights with Colby that, especially the first one, was one of the greatest ones I've ever seen, in my opinion.
yep,
The Masvidal knockout, the Burns
that was
fight,
insane. Yeah,
I think that once he was able to kind of put himself in that position to be like, if I make myself more entertaining, I'm gonna get more money. Rather than, I don't think he would have been one of those guys that would have been pushed too soon. I don't think that ever would have been a problem for Woodley or not Woodley, sorry, Usman for his skill set. But I think him building up his resume in a way was perfect, and then for him to have the championship run that he had as well to boost his popularity was spot on.
I agree. And I think boxing does it. I mean, boxing has so many flaws, but I think they do it. I wouldn't say right in and just feeding their guys nobodies who the fighters could stay undefeated and win and move forward. But if the UFC kind of followed a similar track where they didn't just feed their new up and coming prospects who have a lot of hype to these top contenders and give them guys that they can build their name off of, who kind of match their style or their strengths, and let them continue to build a name and slow burn their way to the top. I think would be so much more beneficial than just fast tracking because I mean, it, I think a good example. I mean, and this fight hasn't played out yet, but I think Joshua Van versus Pantoja. I think I like Joshua Van as a fighter, but I think he's being fast tracked to that title, and I don't think he's on the same level as someone as Pantoja. I don't think he has the grappling to keep up with Pantoja. I could be wrong when the fight happens, but I just feel like he went from getting into the top 15 to getting a title shot within a fight or two, and I think that's always a recipe for disaster. And once a fighter loses his confidence winning a big fight like that, it's hard for them to kind of bring it back. You see a guy coming up in this next weekend's fight with Urseg, he got fast tracked to a title, and then he's been on a losing streak since.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. I think you know I agree with you with the whole Joshua Van thing. Unfortunately though, the only thing that only kind of like I guess like helps that argument go against yours is the fact that just Pantoja just lapped everybody already. But
Yeah, I
I
mean,
still
yeah,
100% agree with you though that like I think it's too soon for Van in his career. The one thing about Van though is that he has come back from that loss against Charles Johnson very well. And so I don't think the loss will be too much and I don't think he has that sort of mindset to where he's kind of like if I can't beat like a top guy like that, like I'm not going to be able to do it, ever because I think he's one of the few fighters that has a realistic mindset in a way and a realistic vision on kind of how things are because realistically, he's probably looking at Pantoja going, that's one of the greatest ever to do it. If I put up a good fight against him, I think that's a victory in itself. I think he's going to try his best to win. I'm not saying that he's just going to go out there and kind of do whatever, but if he goes out there and wins, I think he's going to realize how big of a win that actually is. But also at the same time, if he loses, it's kind of like I lost to one of the greats. It's not
no,
too big of a
yeah,
deal. But unlike your example with Darren Till, 100%, to where it was just kind of like he didn't fight really any of those top guys besides like Wonder Boy before, which he arguably lost. Um, like arguably is a
yeah,
strong word, but
yeah.
you have fighters like that who don't face the top of the division at the right times because they're not being able to build up or being able to be built up in a way that's going to benefit not only them but the whole division in the future. And I think welterweight right now is a beautiful example of how to build up a division correctly.
I agree. Um, you, I think you kind of see it on lightweight too with guys like Paddy Pimblett. And UFC 100% could have sent him in there and off of his hype coming out of Cage Warriors and sent him to the top, but he chose to fight lower competition and kind of bring himself up. Granted, he had like some fights where you think he lost, but I think that's good for someone on the come up where you learn from those situations and you come back better, instead of just going into a big fight. Like if he would have came in and fought someone like Justin Gaethje and got knocked out or something, and then your confidence is shot. Now he had a win over uh um what was it, Gordon, when it was a controversial decision. He won, but now he can kind of learn from that mistake and move forward in the division. And then he beat Tony. Now he's got some more height to his name and is building his name up instead of just going straight in off to a big contender like they are everyone originally thought he was going to do. I think that he's a perfect example of coming in and not taking a big name right off the bat.
Yeah, no, 100%. I definitely agree with that. I think he was one of the ones, and then I mean, even going back to the welterweight division, I think the only person that really suffered anything before, well, not even then. Now that I think about it, because I'm thinking of the Brady and Muhammad fight, but I mean, really, they were both like right there for a title shot, so it wasn't like Brady got fraud checked like early or not even fraud checked in general. Um, and then you had Gary and Shafkat fight each other for pretty much a title shot as well. It was, I think they played out that division very well and putting them up against certain veterans to where they know they're not going to necessarily get back to the top with those veterans, but rather, they're actually able to boost up those prospects with notable names like Joaquin Buckley and
Yeah.
Covington, you know.
Well, speaking about the welterweight division, a guy who I think when we're talking about fast tracking careers and whatnot, a guy like Carlos Prates.
Hmm.
I think the fighting nerds had this name to them. They had they were all undefeated in the UFC and just on the come up. And he was plowing through the welterweight division, and then instead of letting him continue to slow burn his way up, they threw him in with Ian Gary, and
I think though we
I
have to
don't.
exclude like short notice replacements because
Yeah.
that was like a short notice replacement, and I think it was a good opportunity for him. Like if I'm his manager personally, I'm telling him like, why not? You know what I mean? Like I don't think that's a bad fight for him considering it's going to be a striking match. The only thing is just like, can we keep up with that high level of a striker at that point?
Well, so that I think that brings up another good point in this of fast tracking guys. Um, I know the UFC has a lot of like, you scratch up my back, I'll scratch yours. Hop in here on a short notice fight against this contender. And I think that does come back to bite some of these guys, and they do that. I think a lot of guys would that take their time. John Jones, is an example, he's like, I'm not taking any short notice fights. I want to be able to study this and have a full training camp for this guy that I'm about to go fight. I think that's a testament to why he's one of the best to do it in the sport. I wish more guys would have that style because when you show up short notice and you don't have a full training camp and you haven't had time to study the fighter you're fighting or whatnot, I don't think you are able to fight to your full capacity. And then if you lose, well, then you kind of threw away this hot streak you were on or this this move that you were trying to make to the title and whatnot. I think a moment like that for Prates really kind of hurt his career.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, and it'll be interesting to see how he comes back against Jeff Neal. Hopefully that fight doesn't fall through again because I think it's a really good fight for both of them to kind of
That's a
see where they
banger.
are.
That's a banger. That's Neil, man. That's another guy. He's you don't know who you're gonna get, but when he's on, man, he's a
Yeah,
good fighter.
yeah. I mean, that dude's boxing, man. Oh, but
Adams.
so I guess still sticking with the welterweight division in a way, you do have like some cardio guys up there that I think would be really interesting to see in single round fights, like Sean Brady, Bilal. Um, I think even JDM. I think JDM would be really crazy in a 1 round fight. But and I know we saw Habib kind of mention the whole 1 round fight things and stuff like that. But what do you do for a time limit? Do you do just the whole 15 minutes or do you do the whole
Oh,
25?
so how Habib kind of when he talked about it in his interview, he said that non-title fights should be 15 minutes continuous, and then title fights 25 minutes. Same amount of time that they're fighting these current fights, but there's no breaks for rounds or to go get water and talk to your coach. It's just continuous. May the best man win.
How do you feel about that?
I think first off, I don't think many of these fights make it to 15 or 25 minutes. To be honest, if you, especially these title fights, if you have no breaks, um, well, two things with the title fights, you would either see a lot that didn't make it to the 25-minute mark because they just gas, or you'd see a lot more stalling and slower fight pace. A lot more guys shooting takedowns and holding or grabbing against the fence. So I guess it could be entertaining, but it could also lean the other way. Um, I think the 15-minute fights would be a lot more entertaining, but when it came to the title fights, I think it would be those guys usually have more experience, so I think it would be a slower pace fight so they can conserve the cardio.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that. I think that now that you brought up that point and stuff, I think that those fights definitely would be slower, and I think even the 15-minute fights, man, I think even those would be slowed down tremendously, especially with already how favorable like the wrestling is right now with how people are grappling, I guess, with kind of against the cage and I guess in a way stalling, yeah, and it's just it's kind of tough to see, and I cannot imagine seeing that without a break. Oh my god, I would lose my mind
Well,
actually.
yeah, and then could you imagine just a full on wrestling match for the 15 minutes? I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
fans would be throwing shit into the octagon.
Well, I mean, and that, and then also, you're gonna tell me that you want to take away probably some of the most like eye-opening things that you can do for your fighter and tell them instructions once they get to a corner for them to win the fight. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Like
Yeah,
why would you take that away?
you would lose moments like Leon versus Kamaru when
Yeah.
his coach is screaming at him, "What are you doing, son? What are you doing?" Um, I think you would miss out on moments like that. I think you would miss out on adjustments being made on the fly. Um, I think guys with higher cardio would be able to outpace other guys. It would be a slower fight. Imagine guys going for 10 minutes straight and trying to wing punches at each other. I don't think they'd be able to do it.
I think too is that if it was I think if the no breaks was like such a great thing, I don't think they ever would have gotten away from it. Because it wasn't like that
Yeah.
wasn't a thing beforehand. You know what I mean? Like they were doing that in UFC one and whatnot without any rounds and stuff like that, just a continuous one round fight. But then I feel like there was a reason why they got rid of it because it was partially because of that. It was because of like the wrestlers that were just kind of laying there taking a breather, and it's not like the bottom guy probably even mind that. They were like, "I'll take a breather too." Like that sounds great. And then the sloppy punches, sloppy technique, and stuff like that. Guys just gassing out way too early. Like that's I just don't think that that'd be that fun. I think if it was like a 3 round fight, 3 round, one round, or sorry, 3 minute one round, sign me up. Those people are going to go at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think 15 minutes that and then anything past that obviously is just way too long.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to see a few times with the right fighters, but I don't think it's a something that you could sell every weekend. I think you would get tired of it for sure. I
Yeah,
mean, you look at even all these other sports, football, basketball, they all have timeouts. They all have breaks. It's it's so you can get the most out of each athlete. Get coached up, get a water break, get in there. And yeah, with the one continuous round, you'd see who the toughest guy was, but I don't think you get to see the technical fights, the anger fights. I think everyone just gas out super quick, and I don't think it would be good for television.
no, and I don't think even in front of a live crowd, it'd be that great. And I mean, considering on how crowds are right now with certain countries and certain arenas, and even with certain fighters and stuff like that, like, I mean, okay, even just a couple, I don't know if it was a couple weeks ago, but I guess earlier this year, you had Emmett versus Murphy, and as soon as Murphy won the fight, he was being booed at the apex. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he was being booed at the fucking Apex. Can you imagine some guy actually hugging for 15 minutes or 25 minutes in a main event?
Oh yeah,
And
it
the
would be
Apex would lose its
disastrous.
shit. Imagine that in front of a fucking arena.
Yeah, and yeah, and I mean, I guess that's a good transition into our next point of Apex and types of crowds. How do you feel about fights in the Apex versus live crowds?
I don't mind them. I almost kind of wish they put more seating in there. If they put a little more seating in there, I don't think it'd be as bad. I just think that also, for some reason, it just sounds really dense in there. Like there's nothing to make it feel more like full. Um, or I guess more. I don't know. I don't know what the right word to use is for that, but like it doesn't sound like a very big place, which is fine. I understand that Apex is not supposed to, but I think in a way that takes away from like the fighting atmosphere because otherwise it just feels like a private watch party, which in itself is kind of weird. But like I know it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
that, But anyways, I don't mind the Apex fights and stuff like that. I think during COVID it was great with you know no crowds, pure corners and punches and kicks and breathing, the little that you'd hear from guys and stuff like that. I think that was great. Um, and I understand the reason why they're still using it for like production reasons and stuff, but from a crowd perspective, I just don't know if it's that great of a place to go watch fights. Now, I haven't been. And I saw some guy on TikTok who was actually kind of like recording his whole experience, and he was like, "I'll never shit on the UFC Apex again now that I went in person." But like, again, it's different watching it on TV and going in person. I think if we could all go to the Apex in person every weekend, we do that, but we can't.
yeah. I think the Apex was good during COVID and even after. We're able to see fights closer, hear the sound, hear the coaches yelling, almost be more intimate with the fights. But I feel like not fighting in front of the crowds really takes away from the momentum of some of the fights, takes the energy out of some of the fighters. I think some of the fighters that fight at the Apex need to be in front of a crowd. Some of the bigger names, I think, of smaller fight cards, it's cool to be in the Apex, but I think some of these guys who have been in the UFC for a while, who are headlining a fight night, shouldn't be fighting in the same place that the Contender Series holds their fights. Um, I think I think the crowd would bring a bigger atmosphere. I think crowds deserve that, and I think the UFC would benefit from going back in front of crowds instead of using the Apex all the time. It's good for some fight nights, for the filler fight nights, ones like last week where we weren't too big into the names. The name value wasn't there to go really sell tickets, but I think I think the UFC is a better product, and the fight nights are always better in front of crowds. The fighters really feed off of the crowds.
No, 100%. And I think you had like plenty of fighters kind of say that once they started getting back in front of crowds. They were. I feel like a lot of fighters were just constantly being asked, like, "Hey, like, have you noticed the difference between the COVID, empty arena compared to a full crowd again?" And they're like, "Yeah, like, feel the energy, And there is an energy whenever you go to those in person. Like, you feel it. Like you, especially like those really popular guys who really do get those pops and stuff like that from the crowds. It is really hard to ignore that. Like, yeah, there's some serious power behind this guy right now, and there's no way that he's not feeling that. There's no way that isn't carried into the octagon. There's no way that's not an extra boost of adrenaline in a way, for a lot of these guys. And the shitty thing too, though, is just that like some of these fight nights in front of these crowds do not perform, and that's just
Yeah,
I think that's poor matchmaking in my opinion. I think that's just poor placements. But because I think like again, I think a lot of the main card fights on last night's card, or not last night's, on this past weekend's card could have been on a prelim for a pay per view or for a fight night in front of a crowd or even a main card in front of a crowd, and would have gotten a million times more pop and attention, even probably with
Yeah,
with everything that goes on at those events.
percent. I mean, um, I mean, from the fight nights that I've been to, in my experience, here in San Antonio, um, when I went to that Vera and Sandhagen fight card, and on the prelims, man, CJ Vergara versus Daniel Da Silva, that fight, because CJ Vergara was from here in San Antonio, and fighting in front of a big Latin American crowd, like the crowd was just going crazy when he had his comeback, and I think fighters really feel that. Like, he was losing that fight, and when he came back, it was purely off of I think the energy of the crowd, and I think you miss stuff like that in the Apex. Fighters don't have that energy, don't have that crowd yelling and hyping them up to bring that energy back. And you see it all the time. They fight kind of flat. You've seen fighters complain that in the Apex they don't fight to the fullest because they don't feel the energy. They say it feels like a sparring match almost.
Yeah, and yeah, no, I was there for that Figueroa fight, and that was absolutely insane to see that. I don't know how he came back from that. Um, oh man, that was a crazy good card too. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of hard for San Antonio and Austin not to deliver. I'm not too excited about this Noche card though coming up. Not gonna lie.
Oh, I am 100% out on that card. I mean, my I will say, like, I'm excited for my boy Zachary Reese fighting here close to home. I love watching his fights. I would love to go see him in person. I don't think I'm going to Noche this year just because I don't think the UFC's really. I don't think they've done it justice this year.
Mm-mm.
And you think here in San Antonio with a big Spanish city, they would go all out for UFC Noche, but I mean, let me pull this card up. Last time I saw it, it's
Yeah, they're gonna have to add like a couple more really big names, I think, to this one if they even like want a lot of people to even consider going. Um,
it's they're doing it a disservice. Noche is supposed to be like this big event, and they killed it last year with the dome, and I think they should carry on that tradition with this being a uh big fight card. They should have big names. I mean, this is the perfect chance to put big Mexican fighters on this card. Don't think they're doing it, but and I think that's because of the Canelo and Crawford boxing match that Dana's tied into. I hate to see that he's putting so much into that instead of something like Noche. And if you were going to do that, put it on a different night. Like, you have the main event, and neither one of these fighters are Mexican.
yeah,
You have two
I
Brazilians
I
stepping
think
in there in the main event.
I thought Lopez. I mean, I guess that Lopez like trains in Mexico or some shit like that, right? Like,
Yeah, but he's Brazilian. I mean,
yeah, no, I'm with you on all of that. I think I think it's just disappointing, especially to see on how like the past couple of Texas cards have been with
no.
like the Austin cards, the San Antonio card, like well, with Vera and Sanhagen. Um, I think it's just been super, super consistent in terms of bangers, and then you have something like this pops up, and you're like, what the hell?
Don't get me wrong. Diego Lopez and Gene Silva is an amazing fight, and I'm excited to see that. Should it be the main event of UFC Noche? I don't think so. And then looking at this co-main that I see right now, I see Jose Medina versus Dusko Todorovic.
See, that's where you lose me. Like, there's no
What
way
the
you're not
fuck
even
is
going to
this?
stack the main card for that.
What is that fight? Dusko Todorovic just lost his last fight. He's lost his last, I mean, three fights, uh, 4 or 5 fights he's lost. Most of them by finish. and you're gonna put him as the co-main on UFC Noche. I think the UFC is missing big time in a very big um, city that has a lot of Mexican and Spanish culture in it. Like I think this was the perfect. If they couldn't get it in Mexico like they wanted, this was a good place to put it as a fallback, and they missed. They missed big time.
Because like no way they were going to put this card in Mexico. If they're going to put this card in Mexico, I mean they should expect like drinks thrown at them again, like they did with Yair and Stevens. You know what I mean? Like
No, they wanted a big card in Mexico, and then it fell through. And then they said that the stadium wasn't going to be done being built by the time Noche came around. So then they moved it here. And then I saw that they were trying to get Yair on this card, and that fell through. And I just think I just think they kind of shit the bed on this Noche when they could have had a really good fight. When I saw that it
yeah,
wasn't going to even be a pay per view and they just kind of just threw this together, I was like, okay.
yeah, no, I'm 100% with you on that. I think it's definitely probably like one of the more disappointing parts of the year so far.
Um,
But
yeah, to
hopefully
get
they
off of that,
yeah, hopefully they announce some more fights for that one. But speaking of fight announcements, um, Tulio is out of his fight against Michel Pereira, unfortunately, in UFC Shanghai. But we do have a familiar face stepping in to face Michel Pereira. And that man is Kyle Dawkins. That is right. One of the Dawkins brothers is back. So that's exciting. But also,
yeah,
more
be a good
exciting
fight.
news. I think Abus and Joe Pfeiffer is going to be a really good fight. I think Pfeiffer has a really good chance of winning that.
I think so too. Yeah, I just listened to a Joe Piper interview on the Sean Ryan show. Um, I'm excited to see that fight. I think he's a good contender in that division, and I think Abus is good, but I don't think he's got what it takes to be a contender in that division.
I don't think he's got the
I think
chin
he's
for Pfeiffer.
no, not at all. Piper's big for the division, also.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, Abus is a big guy too, but I think that like him not being able to necessarily take the power of Strickland in a lot of ways was kind of
Yeah,
telling. You're just like, damn, dude, like you're getting kind of like walked down by. I mean, getting walked down by Strickland is one thing, but like getting TKO'd by him in the second round is kind of insane.
yeah. And Strickland's more of a volume guy. He'll come in and kind of kick you, throw jabs, keep everything tight, and just wear on you with volume. He's not a I'm gonna knock you out with one punch or TKO you kind of guy. So I think that's very telling.
Yeah, so I think Pfeiffer probably second round knockout or something.
Yeah, I think Albus also has a cardio issue.
Hmm.
You kind of see him later in fights just kind of ass out completely and just kind of give up in a way.
You gotta love it whenever those Russians gas out and don't know what to do. But
Um, what
anything
about
else?
this weekend? What about this weekend's card?
Oh
What do
yeah,
you
this
feel about
weekend.
this weekend's card?
This weekend's card. I do have Fluffy winning the main event
Yep.
against Delize, but I think if Delize can work the body of Anthony Hernandez, they could be a completely different fight, and it'll be interesting to see kind of like what Delize's plan is because he's no slouch on the ground, and I think he's very strong for the division. So it'll be interesting how Anthony kind of deals with that even in that aspect. But if Roman can definitely work the body, Anthony's got a soft body. No disrespect, but he's got a soft body. He's been hurt numerous times there. And if
Yeah.
Roman can keep that going, I think that'll be a, a rough time for Anthony, but I still think he can get it done.
Yeah, I think Hernandez pulls this off. He has the cardio and the pressure to really do it. Elise's a tough fighter, but I think Hernandez is on a good streak with wins over a lot of good names. I think he pulls this one off.
And then
And that's no
co-main,
shade to Delize. Delize is a good fighter. I don't think it's his night.
I just don't think he's that high level of a fighter, and for the middleweight division at least. I just think that he struggles probably with a lot of these guys. He's up there in age. He's already 37. So
Yeah, and Hernandez is coming off wins off of guys like Brendan Allen, Michelle Pereira, um, Kopylov. Let's see.
Shabazian,
Yeah, Shabazian. I mean,
he's on
he's
a
streaking. Mark
one,
Andrew Barrios,
two.
Josh Friend.
Yeah, he's on a 7 fight win streak right now.
He hasn't he hasn't lost a fight since 2020 to Kevin Holland. So I think he's gonna win. I think he's gonna continue this hot streak that he's on. I think his cardio and his pace and his pressure, his takedowns, I think is just gonna to wear on Delize and win him the fight. I don't know if he wins it in the distance, inside the 5 rounds, or by decision. I could see a submission, but I could also see a decision also.
I think it'll be a decision, in my opinion. I
Delize
think,
is tough. He's hard to finish.
yeah, he's gonna have to get really tired. I think in those later rounds, and Fluffy's willing to push. I just think that if it's already in that later of a round, I think he's just gonna be kind of like, it's fine. Let's just get to a decision. Especially if
Yeah.
he's already up. And then our
Yeah.
co-main, we had Steve Ursig versus Ode Osborne. Um, I like Ursig in this one, but
Yeah. 100%.
Osborne could be weird.
He always has a chance in his fights. And it's a short notice fight. Alex Perez pulled out. I think Ursig wins. I think he gets back in the win column with this. I think he's going to be a little too much for Ode Osborne, but Osborne has that finishing ability, so it's always a possibility. But I think Ursig pulls this one off.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I
And
think if
then
Rano couldn't beat him and Panther couldn't finish Ursig, I don't think Ode can.
no, I mean, the only guy finished by Kai because Kai just has that insane power. Nothing new there.
Yeah, yeah,
And then one more fight I want to talk about on this card. There are a couple good ones, but I
yeah.
think
I think there's a couple good ones.
I think the Andre Fili and Christian Rodriguez fight could be very interesting. I do see Rodriguez winning that. He has that weird style of kind of like throwing punches until he's close enough to where he can clinch and then take you down. And I think Philly is kind of in a weird way, kind of in a similar spot as like Whitaker, to where they're just so late in their careers, fighting wise, to where I think they're just kind of worn down. I think they're kind of like just tired of like the game in a way. Because I think Whitaker and Philly and a lot of these guys that are towards the end of their careers, I think they can say that like, yeah, I feel as fresh as ever, or yeah, I feel as motivated as ever. And it's like, yeah, you can say that, but I think like your actions definitely speak louder. And I think in Andre's last couple fights, I think he's given up in a couple ways. You know, I think he's just kind of let it happen, compared to the old Philly, where I think he would have really fought back a lot harder than some of these other past results he's gotten. Um,
Yeah, I agree.
but yeah, so I just see Rodriguez kind of smothering him, probably getting a second or third round sub.
Rodriguez is a weird fighter, though. He has a way of beating guys that he has no business being in there with, but then losing to guys he definitely should beat. But I do see him winning this fight against Philly. I think Philly is just a little too long in the tooth. He's late in his career. I think Rodriguez pulls this one off, probably by decision.
Yeah, I think it'll
And
be a nice card. I don't think it'll be anything too crazy. But I think it'll be
I like
I think it'll probably be like this past weekend's card, to where it was It was good.
paper. I
Yeah.
like that Eric Anders and Christian Leroy Duncan fight. They always bring it in their fights. Um, I think that'll be another entertaining fight. And if you look at the prelims, fight on the prelims I really like is a Euros Medic and Gilbert Urbina. One is a Contender Series guy. One is a Ultimate Fighter guy. I think both of them are pretty entertaining. I think that'll be a fun fight also.
Oh, that's right. I remember Gilbert on
Yeah.
Ultimate Fighter. That's right.
Um, Cody Brundage opening the prelim versus Eric Oni Makonigo. I think that'll be a fun fight. I believe Cody Brundage is all the way down there opening up the card. Usually he's stuffed in the middle of the prelims, but I think that'll be a fun fight.
Yeah, I think
Elijah Smith versus Toshiomi Kazuma, I think will be another entertaining fight. I think the
I don't.
prelims is kind of stuffed with some fun fights that'll bring some entertainment before opening the card. Besides the Jocelyn Edwards fight, uh, she always kind of stalls her fights out, and this is a decision.
Yeah, I think it's. I think if you're a hardcore fan, you definitely know a lot more of these names. But if
Yeah,
you're not too familiar, I think some of these will kind of go right over
yeah.
your head.
It was a same thing as last week's card.
Hmm.
It didn't have the name value. Didn't Casual fans wouldn't know to watch or see these names, but when you see some of these guys on paper, they're like, man, these guys will bring it. And I'm excited for this fight. It's not one that's gonna you know raise my eyebrows just looking at it, but I think it'll be fun. It's a little earlier in the day too, which will be nice.
I'm a sucker for early cards. Sign me
Me
up.
too, man. I mean, we're in that central time zone. I hate waiting till 2 a.m., 1 a.m. for the main event. Uh, so it's nice to have some early cards. I like being able to sit and day drink and watch the fights and have fun, and it's a good time.
Nah, it is kind of a shame though that Shanghai card's going to be at like 4 a.m.
I Yeah, those cards are always hard to watch, but find a way to do it, man.
Yeah, I'll see if I can that day or not. I might just have to watch it at work later on.
Yeah, sometimes I got to do that replay because
Yeah, I'll act like I'm watching it
you have
live.
those main cards at 3 a.m. and you're like, but
Yeah, just kind of
they
done by
only
that
do that
point.
on fight nights, man. They only do it on fight nights. Those main cards, I mean, those pay-per-views, they make sure that it's in Vegas time.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
I feel bad for those guys that fight in the O2 arena and it's like 3 a.m. and
I didn't understand why they did the Leon Edwards and Muhammad fight like at 4 a.m. their time. That made zero
I
sense to me.
they do it with every fight like that. Aspinall's talked about it when he fought there. But I mean, still, those fans over there, they're there at 3 a.m. drunker than shit watching
Oh
these
yeah.
fights. So they have a good time. I just feel bad for the fighters because they're always thrown off. I don't think it's good for them. It's it favors these guys coming from the U.S. going over there because it's more our time zone. And those guys are getting up at 2 a.m. to fight when they should be asleep. So
Yeah.
I can understand how Leon was kind of upset in that, but at the same time, Leon, you haven't really showed us anything else since then. So,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But
but you have
anything
anything
else?
else for us? Yeah, no, I think we hit everything else for this week.
I think so
It
too.
was a, I think it was a fun card last week. I think this week will be another one of those fun cards. I think we'll have some fun topics to talk about next week also.
Yeah, I'm
Any
definitely
kind of
excited to kind of see
brainstorming.
some. I think some. I have a weird feeling we're gonna get some like really big fight news coming up too. So hopefully we do.
Yeah, it feels like feels like that. Like Dana's got something just waiting. I think once we get past this Canelo Crawford thing, I think we're gonna get some big fight announcements coming up. But
Yeah, because
in
the
the
end of the
meantime,
year just gets crazy.
we have 319 to look forward to. I think that's gonna be a great fight, and then those fights in October, those will be fun. I think I think all of October's be stacked. Some September also, besides
Yeah, we
Noche
definitely
that
have
we
some
talked
fun
about.
stuff coming up for sure. Oof, yeah. Oh man, some of
But
these look good.
I'm looking at yeah, because we have 19, 319 coming up. Not not this weekend, but next weekend coming up, and then after that, it's we have a Johnny Walker, and then Brian Ortega Sterling Pavlovich versus Aldo Cortez Acosta. I didn't know that fight was happening. That's gonna be crazy. We'll get into that these next few weeks, but I think we got some good fight nights coming up.
Yeah, I think we'll end up being on a good little roll, thankfully, because
Finally, because the beginning of the
yeah,
year kind of was a little stale.
yeah, there's been some rough patches this year, but all right, man. Well, Devin, I look forward to hearing from you next week, and we will we will see you guys later.
Like, subscribe, share, anything that y'all want to do. It's greatly appreciated.
All right, man. Well, sounds like we're gonna wrap it up.
Yep.
We'll catch you next week. This weekend's cards hopefully gonna be good.
Yeah. Hopefully, it
We'll
lives up
see.
to expectation.
Even though they're not that high, but
We've been hyping it up, so hopefully it lives up to it.
yeah, we're gonna look like fucking idiots.